What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about that Nintendo Direct that we got yesterday. Now, usually when I discuss Nintendo Directs, I do it immediately. I watch the Direct, pick up my microphone, and give you my thoughts. But I had to work all day yesterday. Literally, my shift started when the Direct ended, and I had to work till the end of the day. So I haven't been able to record a discussion video until right now, the morning after the Nintendo Direct on Tuesday. I'm recording this on Wednesday morning. And that has sort of given me this long view that I don't usually get when we talk about Nintendo Directs. I've gotten to see everyone's reactions and thoughts, good, bad, indifferent, about this presentation. And I've also had a day to think about all of these announcements, watch all of the trailers over again. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I have some more pensive thoughts than usual when it comes to this Nintendo Direct. But there was a lot, and personally, I did really enjoy it. I think it was better than the September Direct in terms of the pacing, maybe a little bit weaker in terms of the actual announcements we got, because we got like 7 first-party reveals in September, whereas here we only had 3 truly new first-party games. But all 3 were games I'm really excited about. Little asterisk on Ocarina of Time, not only because the entire world knew that was coming, but also because it was the most underwhelming reveal trailer maybe ever for a Nintendo game. But I'm probably going to title this video, I love the Nintendo Direct, but I understand why you didn't. Because I feel like, you know, if you're not a JRPG fan, there wasn't a lot here for you. Because we got a new Rhythm Heaven trailer, that game looks great. We got Switch Sports 2 announced, that looks great, and we did get the Ocarina of Time remake formally unveiled. But besides that, a lot of what I have written down here are JRPG announcements, and we'll get to it. We'll talk about my favorite stuff of the show, but it was for a very specific fan. So I kind of understand why some people came out of this Direct a little bit disappointed. I was a little bit less understanding of it in September because there was just so much variety in that presentation in terms of what Nintendo announced, whereas in this one, it was very specific, very narrow in terms of what Nintendo and third parties brought to the showcase, I think. But luckily, it was right up my alley as a huge Xenoblade fan, as someone who thinks Switch Sports is criminally underrated, and as someone who also was dying for new Rhythm Heaven footage. But let's get into it. Let's talk about all the announcements that piqued my interest from this Direct. As per usual, I won't cover every single game because a lot of games I just have nothing to say about. We opened on Rhythm Heaven Groove, which I thought had an incredible trailer. Really got me hyped for this game, even more so than I was before. It is weird they opened on it. Nintendo has this obsession with starting with the Switch 1 games and then getting into the Switch 2 games, which is so odd to me in terms of like pacing and structure. Just open on a big reveal and then show off the one Switch 1 game you have. But regardless, you know, Nintendo's weird like that. But it was a great trailer. They showed off the new RPG mode, which looks incredible. I can't believe they're adding a whole like rhythm RPG side mode to this game. It looks kind of similar to this one indie game that's on my wish list. I'll put a picture of it on the screen because I can't remember the name of it. But it looks really cool, and that's a direction Rhythm Heaven has not gone in really whatsoever. We then got to a string of third-party announcements that really moved me. I thought these were pretty big announcements for Nintendo. Onimusha Way of the Sword obviously was going to be announced for Switch 2. That was the most expected third-party port, I think, from this presentation. But I thought the port looked really good. I just played the demo on PS5, and it looks and runs great on my PS5 Slim. I can't wait for the full game in September. But Capcom has just been killing it on the Switch 2. That'll continue with Onimusha, and that will continue into October with Dragon's Dogma 2 Dark Arisen. This is a Capcom game I thought might have skipped the Switch 2 just because it isn't a game that runs well on current-gen consoles, but shout out to Capcom. They are just so good at optimization. The RE engine is like a miracle worker. Because the footage didn't look that bad. There were some scenes that looked a bit rough, but I mean, it seems like a playable version of Dragon's Dogma 2, and it seems like we're getting a new expansion, or at least some new content coming to Dragon's Dogma 2, which is a pretty big announcement, I think, to see at a Nintendo Direct. New content coming to one of Capcom's biggest games of the decade. And I think that was a big theme of this Direct, right? The Nintendo isn't messing around when it comes to third-party ports. I thought another big example of that was the fact that Stellar Blade, a massive third-party port in my eyes, and yet it didn't even get its own headline in this Direct. They kind of just yada-yada'd that it was coming out in 2026, but I think that's a really big announcement, and that's the type of port that like 5 years ago would have had a massive showcase in a Direct. It would have had a big 3-minute trailer. It would have felt like a big deal, but for the Switch 2, it's just another port, which is really cool to see. Orbital's got a release date for September 3rd. Looks cool. We then saw some Pocopia DLC, which was a really cool announcement. It seems like a good chunk of this DLC revolves around exploring underwater areas. There's so much water in Pocopia, so it's cool that we can finally go down and utilize all of that space in the game. In August, we're getting a free update that seems to unlock those underwater areas in every single world for everyone. Free update. And then there's going to be an expansion pass, and the first wave of that expansion pass, which also comes out in August, is going to give us a new town that revolves around this underwater structure and mechanic, which is pretty cool. We're also getting a second new town in 2027 and some new features late in 2026. No idea what new features means. That could be totally groundbreaking or it could be totally meaningless. Who knows? Hopefully we learn more about that at a future Pokemon Presents, maybe in July or August. We then got a big, meaty trailer for Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave coming out September 17th, so there were some rumors that maybe this game was going to get delayed. I never really bought into that, but good to get it confirmed that it's coming out on the 17th. Of course, that is the same day as Trails in the Sky Second Chapter. Kind of a tough timing situation there. It seems like this is a sequel to Three Houses in really every way. The mechanics in terms of battles look pretty similar. The side content and the free time system looks pretty similar to Three Houses, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think evolving on what was already a really solid foundation with Three Houses is a great idea, especially because it seems like there's two Fire Emblem teams. I think this team that's making Fortune's Weave is the Three Houses team that collaborates with Koei Tecmo, and then there's another one that made Fire Emblem Engage. So let the Engage team do the weird experimental stuff, and let this team tackle this version of Fire Emblem again, especially because Three Houses was held back so much by the Switch 1. It also seems like there's no player stand-in like Byleth, which is really exciting for me because I've always found in Fire Emblem the main character is so boring, right? It's supposed to be this player stand-in. You can name it whatever you want, and I think that's such a boring decision. I like how we have Kai here as our main character that we're playing as, but he's an actual character. He's not just a silhouette that you can fill your own details into. No, this is an actual main character. I think that is a great decision, and it makes me so much more invested in this story. One thing I do want to say here, if you're not tapped into like Wario 64 and Deku deals, is that the physical for this game is $80, but if you go on Amazon or Walmart right now, they match the digital price, which is $70. So you can get this physically for $70 instead of $80, which seems fair to me for Fortune's Weave. $80, maybe pushing it. No games really should be $80, but I think $70 is fair, and it is $70 physically at certain retailers, so don't go paying $80 for this game physically. You can save $10 very easily. Next, they showed off DK Challenge, which did leak the night before. And of course, there's a Nintendo monkey's paw here, which is that, yes, there are achievements for the first time on a Nintendo system, but they're limited time. The DK Challenge only lasts until September, so I was really hoping this would be the start of Nintendo just building up a bunch of challenges for their games and having them accessible at any time. Luckily, I have NSO, I have Bonanza, so I can get all of the achievements here and get that little sticker that says you did all of them. The only thing I will say that doesn't make it better, but maybe makes me more hopeful for the future, is maybe the idea here is that every few months we get a new challenge. maybe next it's Mario and then Zelda and then Kirby or something. And that's why they decided to make it limited time, because they want to have one challenge at a time. I still think that's stupid, but hopefully there's a plan here and it's not just a one-time thing that they never return to again. Because with Nintendo and these limited time things, that is a real possibility. You saw that with Mario 35, where that game's been dead for 6 years and it ain't coming back. So hopefully the DK challenge does not suffer a similar fate. We then got a really sick announcement. Muramasa Revenant Blades, a remaster/remake of Muramasa, the classic Vanillaware game. This is an incredibly cool announcement. Muramasa is so sick, but I will say the art style has always kind of been a little odd to me. It kind of reminds me of the Bowser fart gif, if you know what I'm talking about. But I really like what they've done with this remaster. It's a lot more tasteful. It's a lot more painterly. I really like how it looks in this new version, and it's coming in early 2027, so that is a really cool announcement. We then got the part of the Direct where my soul left my body with the Xenoblade Chronicles block. We first got Switch 2 editions of 1, 2, and 3. Xenoblade 1 Switch 2 edition is out now. Xenoblade 2's comes out in July, and Xenoblade 3's comes out in December. Not only are the games higher res and higher frame rate, but they also added significant new content to each. Xenoblade 1, like I said, is out right now, and they added a whole kart racing mode to this game, which is crazy. And there's also some other quality of life features like the heart-to-hearts in Xenoblade 1 being voiced, and they're doing the same thing for 2 and 3. Xenoblade 2's getting this weird action mode that you can use your blades for, and Xenoblade 3's getting this like top-down roguelite sort of mode. It's really weird, but it's also incredibly cool. Any excuse to go back to these 3 games is a good one. And I did tinker around with Xenoblade 1's patch last night, and it doesn't look that bad. It still has some weird artifacting, some weird judder, some weird, smoothing elements. In motion especially, it's really blurry. It is still way better than Xenoblade X's Switch 2 edition. That was like unplayable for me with how smeary it was. It looked so bad. Xenoblade 1's just looks kind of blurry, and there are shimmery artifacts at times, but it really just looks blurry. But considering how bad Xenoblade 1 and 2 look on Switch 1, anything is an improvement, and I do think it is a genuine improvement, unlike Xenoblade X, which I thought actively made the game look worse, even though 60 FPS was really nice to have. Now that alone would have been a major announcement, but of course Monolith Soft was not done. Xenoblade Genesis coming out in 2027. I'm gonna do a whole video breaking down the trailer and giving my thoughts, hopefully in the next few days, but I mean, it looks amazing. It looks great. The art style is a little bit more like stylized, thicker outlines than the last few Xenoblade games, especially 3, which it looks the most similar to. And it's also a very colorful game. Not to say that 1, 2, and 3 aren't colorful, because they certainly are, but it's just a very vibrant and loud color palette, which is really interesting, and I think it looks really good. Also, Yasunori Mitsuda was confirmed to return for the soundtrack, which is great to hear. He always kills it on Xeno soundtracks. No mention of Kenji Hiramatsu or Ace working on the soundtrack, which is really disappointing if true, because Hiramatsu especially might just be like my favorite composer of all time. Like, he never misses on Xenoblade soundtrack, so it'll be a little disappointing if Hiramatsu and Ace aren't back, but regardless, it's still another Mitsuda soundtrack, so it's gonna slap. We then went right from that major announcement to another one, Nintendo Switch Sports Resort, coming out October 22nd, which is a little later than I expected. I mean, this is a freaking Switch Sports Resort game. It's kind of crazy it's not coming out in the summer. That feels perfect to me for it to come out in August when it's still warm outside. Gonna be a little weird playing this game when it's like 45 and breezy, but regardless. I know a lot of people don't like Switch Sports. I thought it was pretty fun. I thought it was a pretty good game, and I also really love Wii Sports Resort. I'm so glad they're going back to Woohoo Island, going back to that aesthetic. I do hope I said it in my predictions video. I really do hope you can walk around Woohoo Island. Give us some sort of hub world. I think that would be awesome. But regardless, the vibes of this game look incredible. I love all the stupid motion and mouse control functionality in this game. Obviously, we got a very in-depth look at the thumb wrestling minigame. But skateboarding is another one that looks incredible. I can't wait to try that one out. This next announcement was insane. Final Fantasy Resonance coming October 22nd. People are writing this game off because apparently it's based off of a mobile game, but so is Octopath Traveler 0, and that is widely regarded, to my knowledge, as the best Octopath game. So we have a history of Square Enix doing exactly this with one of their franchises, taking an old mobile game, turning it into HD 2D, making it a full-fledged experience, and it working out. So I'm really excited for Final Fantasy Resonance. I mean, it's an HD 2D turn-based Final Fantasy game. That sounds awesome. The next thing I want to talk about is one of my two disappointments of the show, and that is the Dustbloods not getting any sort of gameplay trailer, even shorter than the trailer we got over a year ago, and it didn't even have a year of 2026 on it. I still think this game is going to come out this year, but that doesn't exactly inspire confidence. Something that does inspire a little more confidence is that we're getting a closed network test in summer of 2026. So a network test that far out from the end of the year, I think, probably suggests this is still coming out, maybe in November or December, but I'm a little bit concerned and I just want to see gameplay. I want to see what this game plays like, what some of the areas are like to explore. Obviously, we saw some enemies and a little bit of combat in that debut trailer. Everything looks really freaky. It looks cool, but I just want to see more. I will say, I do think we're going to get a Dustbloods Direct at some point this summer, probably in late July or early August, to then get the ball rolling on that network test. So I don't think we're going to be waiting a while for gameplay. I just wish we got it here. We then got a Splatoon Raiders trailer that I don't think showed us anything new. It just looked like Splatoon Raiders again. We are getting a direct on the 30th of June, so that'll probably give us some really cool new information about Splatoon Raiders. I'm already sold on this game. It looks great. Hopefully they have some sort of ace in the hole in terms of what they're going to show off at the direct, because to me it already seems like they've shown off a lot, but we'll see what else they have to share in a few weeks. We then got the announcement of Deltarune Chapter 5 coming out on June 24th. I'm the weirdo who's waiting until the whole Deltarune is released to play it. I don't like this new trend of releasing games in like multiple parts. You know, I just don't want to play a game 6 different times. I want to play it once all the way through. It's a good business decision for Toby Fox, I get that, but I don't know. We'll probably get Chapter 6 next year, and I can't wait to play it, but not really the most exciting announcement for me, other than the fact that we are getting one step closer to the full game coming out. It was also cool to see Metaphor ReFantazio announced for November 12th. This is a game I still haven't played, but I really want to. It does seem like it has a pretty good Switch 2 port, so maybe I will check it out on Switch 2, although I could probably get it cheaper on PS5. I don't know. We'll see. But it's really cool that that finally got announced. Really odd to me that we haven't had Persona 4 Revival confirmed for Switch 2. I can't imagine that's not coming day and date. I know Atlas is weird, but they can't possibly think it's a good idea to release a new game without the Switch 2. I mean, that might be your biggest audience, or at least most dedicated audience, in terms of a JRPG release, so they can't miss out. But it wasn't confirmed, so hopefully that's something we learn about later. I'm not too optimistic, though, that we're going to get those new Persona games day and date. Maybe Persona 6, just because it's probably a ways away, but Persona 4 Revival, probably not coming day and date, which is really disappointing. We then got the final third-party announcement of this show, which I think was pretty monumental, and that was, of course, the Kingdom Hearts collections coming over to Switch 2. Really good to see native ports of these Kingdom Hearts games. Crazy it's taken this long. But then, Kingdom Hearts 4, first gameplay trailer. I know they showed some gameplay in that reveal trailer in 2022, but it was so rough. It was clearly early footage. This looked a lot better, and I think it was our first significant look at gameplay. And it's crazy that that showed up at a Nintendo Direct. That is something that would have never happened in the past. The final announcement of the Direct was a bit of a bummer, and that was Ocarina of Time Remake. Now, you guys know I am really excited for Ocarina of Time Remake. I made a whole video talking about why I think it's a good idea. But this reveal was terrible. One singular shot of what maybe is in-engine footage of Link. We don't even know if it is. Maybe that was a cinematic that isn't even gonna look exactly like how the game looks like. And besides that, no gameplay, no look at the world, just one shot of Link, which looks fine, maybe looks a little bit uncanny in terms of the art direction they're taking this game. It does kind of look like Nintendo hired that man, but I don't really know, right? I don't know if I should be disappointed about the art direction because we haven't seen the game yet, and I think that's crazy. I'm not concerned about it coming out this year. They gave it a 2026 window. It's been rumored to death. I'm pretty certain this game is going to come out this year, probably in that November time slot we all think it's going to come out in. But I just wanted to see it. I just wanted to see our first look of gameplay, of how the world looks, of maybe some new content that wasn't in the original. Some people have brought up that maybe we'll get a Zelda Direct sometime in the summer. Honestly, I think we're just not going to see this game until September, until we get a September Direct, which is fine. It isn't the end of the world. It's a fine business decision for Nintendo, you know, re-reveal it in September, release it in November. It makes sense. I want to see what the game freaking looks like. Well, those were the announcements from the Direct. Overall, again, I really liked it. There were a lot of really huge announcements for me specifically at this Direct. Between Rhythm Heaven and Xenoblade and a new Final Fantasy game and Kingdom Hearts 4 getting its first real look since 2022. If we got real meaty gameplay trailers for Ocarina of Time and the Dustbloods, this would have been maybe my favorite Direct of the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 eras. Like, it would have been up there with June of 2023 and June of 2024 and June of 2021. It's not quite there because we didn't get that gameplay that I was hoping for those two big titles of the holiday. But other than that, I really did enjoy it. And look, I get it. If you're a JRPG fan, you probably thought this Direct was bad. But like, on one hand, I get it, right? Some people don't like JRPG games. But on the other hand, you're missing out. Like, friggin' play some JRPGs. Like, it's a great genre with so many great games, and there's no real reason to be opposed to the genre in its entirety. I think that is, I don't want to say silly, like, you know, like what you like. Gaming is so wide and broad that I think it's really cool that we can all have different experiences with it. But you know how Bong Joon-ho talked about how subtitles in foreign films are like a 1-inch barrier to discovering incredible new stuff? That's how I feel about the aversion some people have to JRPGs. It's like, there's no reason why these announcements can't excite you, right? That these announcements can't be exciting for you in the future, because JRPGs are just another genre of video games that ultimately aren't all that different from other genres of video games you play. They're not this radically different thing and radically less interesting thing as a general concept. And I don't mean that to be patronizing or to be elitist and to say if you don't like JRPGs, you're less of a gamer or something. I think that's a ridiculous thing to say. What I am saying in talking about that is, like, look at all of the JRPGs announced in this Direct and pick one out that looks cool. You know, and hey, if you try it and you hate it, such is life. But I think there's a whole world out there that you're missing if you are one of these people who doesn't love JRPGs. Because at one point I was kind of that gamer myself. But then in the last decade, I've played so many RPGs and I've loved a good number of them. And I think even the most ardent 3D platformer and anti-JRPG fan can find a JRPG for them. And it's just a matter of finding that game. And I bet for a lot of people, one of the games in this Direct or one of the series in this Direct could be that game for them. So that would be my suggestion, you know, is to try it. Perhaps this Direct was made specifically for one type of video game fan, but there's nothing stopping you from becoming that video game fan. So I don't know. I certainly am that video game fan, and that's why I was over the moon with this Direct. I thought it was really darn spectacular for my interests. I mean, we got a new Xenoblade game. Who cares about what else got announced in this Direct? I literally said to myself after Xenoblade was announced, like, they can cancel the Ocarina of Time remake. Who cares? And we ended up getting a really bad Ocarina trailer. So, you know, that monkey's paw curled once again. But we'll see that in due time, I'm sure. And I'm sure it will look good, I guess. I don't know. I'll play it. I'll love it. It's Ocarina of Time, right? It's hard to screw that one up. Oh God, don't let the monkey's paw curl again after I said something like that. Play that back in 5 months when we play Ocarina of Time. But I don't want to talk too long about directs and expectations and satisfaction. I might do a video talking about the state Nintendo is in terms of their marketing and in terms of directs. I think it is a really interesting conversation that a lot of us, myself included, haven't really caught up to in terms of our expectations for Nintendo and for Nintendo Directs. But that's for the future. Again, I will do a Xenoblade Genesis video within the next week. I'm really excited for that game. Let me know in the comments, what did you think of this Direct? Give it a grade. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Regardless, what was your favorite announcement? Tell me all that down below. It's a freaking party down there. Let's get some discourse going about that Direct. Jesus. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, hit that big fat button. Presentation season is over, but that means game season has just begun. We've got to play all of these games that Keighley and Sony and Xbox and Nintendo announced, and there are a lot of them. So if you don't want to miss me talking about all of those games, and also the video on Summer Games Fest I'm going to do in a good bit of time. I am working on that as well, just talking about some of my favorite games from Summer Games Fest. Make sure to like the video. Well, that doesn't really matter in terms of that point. Make sure to subscribe and hit that freaking bell so you don't miss anything going on with the channel. Share the video with a friend who is in love with JRPGs, or a friend who needs some more JRPG recommendations to broaden their horizons. And with all that said, I'll see you guys in the next one.